Now, you've probably heard for the better part of a decade that tax advisory is the future. Tax advisory is not the future anymore. It's the now. If you're not doing tax advisory work, that's okay. Let's start. Let's empower ourselves and let's start looking forward and trying to implement that in your practice. If you already are doing advisory work, great, you're already a step ahead. But let's see how we can even improve it. I want to make the case for why advisory is important, okay? Think about this. We are all tax professionals taking this course together. If you're not a tax professional, you either slipped into the wrong course or you just feel like being a little smarter today. So welcome. What does the AICPA have to say about why advisory? Well, they don't come out and say why advisory, but the issue here is that we have a serious retirement cliff and pipeline issue in our industry. This goes beyond just CPAs. This includes all types of tax professionals, but we're going to start with focusing on the labor shortage. We all know there's a supply and demand curve. We are all in a situation where we are the suppliers, and the suppliers are significantly decreasing and demand is increasing, or at least staying stagnant. The ICPA says approximately 75% of CPAs are expected to retire in the next 15 years. That's three quarters of CPAs are expected to retire in the next 15 years. We're going to talk about a little bit about pricing later in the value that advisory provides to your practice. This is good and this is bad, folks. Why is this good? If I told you 3/4 of your competition is going to leave in the next 15 years, that's pretty cool, right? However, we're also going to have to increase the profitability of our practices because there's less people, especially if you're retirement minded, coming into the profession that want to acquire said practice. We have a 33% decline in CPA exam participation from 2016 to 2021. And that includes the pandemic when people had a bunch of time on their hands to sit home and study. This is a recipe for trouble within our industry as far as labor. However, this is an amazing opportunity to deepen your relationships with your clients and jump into advisory. So we have a shortage. The Illinois Society of CPA had this to say: we're poised to lose valuable, experienced professionals in the next coming years, okay? It's just the demographics of where we're at today. The CPA Journal, right? They published a study that there's a declining interest in accounting among students. So we talked about the CPA exam, people sitting at a 33% less rate, and I mentioned this in this article as well. However, it goes beyond the CPA exam. There's a declining interest in accounting. Not every accountant wants to sit for the CPA exam. We have a decline in accounting among students. So this is concerning for us, right? There's opportunity and there's concern. So how are you going to either be a champion at the practice that you work at or within your own practice if you're a firm owner to bring on advisory and take advantage of this opportunity, all right? Now, we know that there is a pipeline issue and a retirement cliff coming. Let's talk about the financial part of this, okay? This, to me, is a no-brainer, all right? Advisory services, we know, command higher fees. On average, and this is according to Intuit's Tax Planning and Advisory Insight Survey. I use this. Thank you, Intuit, for putting this survey out. I really appreciate you because I use this darn survey all the time when I speak to accountants. On average, 5 times higher. The fees are 5 times higher than standard tax preparation. 5 times. How would you like to earn the same amount of money and work with 20% of the clients? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, you can. So tax planning advisory. Another AICPI put out a article. Firms offering advisory services earn 2.5 times more revenue per client compared to those fully focused on compliance. So according to their survey, you can work with 40% of the clients and earn the same amount of revenue. This is a no-brainer. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. clients are begging you to jump into advisory. All right. Let's take a look at a couple more things. Because a lot of times, like myself, right? I'm a small firm owner. Many of you are small firm owners or members of a team of a small firm. Well, let's look at the big four. Over the last 22 years, right? I started my practice in 2003. Yeah, I know, I was only 10 years old. Okay, maybe you're chuckling in your chair, but guess what? I gave it a try. But over the last 20 years, the big four experienced a 274% increase in advisory service revenues. What a amazing growth rate. The reason I put this in here is to let you know this isn't a small firm issue. This is an industry-wide issue. And finally, and I can't wait to talk about this because this has been our bread and butter for the last 12 years. Recurring revenue models enhance firm stability. We run a membership-based subscription business model in our practice. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because I'm going to give you the 4 ways you could provide advisory services to your clients. I firmly believe in the recurring revenue model as the best method. That being said, don't feel stressed right now that I've got to go from I'm just thinking about advisory to this sparkly new, shiny recurring revenue. We move forward step by step, okay? Now, it goes beyond just tax, right? So firms offering client advisory services, they have 17% revenue growth in 2023 and project 99% increase over the next 3 years. So if you're offering CAS, you should be doubling your revenue in the next 3 years. Think about it. So it definitely makes financial sense. We definitely have a pipeline issue, and we definitely have a retirement cliff.